How can Jurgen Klopp be the difference maker in the Premier League title race this season? I think the German is having the most underrated campaign for a top-level manager I've ever seen. And there's not enough people actually sitting there and saying, hang on a minute, what he's doing at Liverpool with a relatively thin squad, a talented squad, but a thin squad, a squad massively in transition, a squad that were really flat last season for a number of reasons. We'll talk about them in the video. How has he got them within what? 6 months from that period of time at the end of last season? How's he got them challenging? They could be in a League Cup final within a week. Look, the Europa League's different, but he's still giving that competition a lot of respect. Far in the FA Cup, and I think they're going to go even further. They got Norwich City. And then they're top of the Premier League, 5 points clear of Arsenal, who were in a similar position to them last year. They've usurped Arsenal in the Premier League title race. And I think all of these factors, these are four competitions that he's treated with equal respect and an equal winning mentality. And the real purpose of this video has to address three factors of how I think he's got there, because I think he's having an underrated season. If Liverpool win the Premier League this season, it will go down in the history books. One of the best managerial performances I've ever seen. I think it's akin maybe to, it reminds me a little bit of Ferguson 2013 when he had loads of gaps in that Man United squad, his final swan song, if you will, and he managed to get United over the line against Man City that season as well. Maybe if you look at Mourinho coming to Chelsea for the second time and winning the league title 10 years after the first. I know they're different squad setups and obviously different clubs, but those kind of off seasons where things aren't quite going right and there's maybe a few gaps here and there in the squad and you still win the Premier League title. Maybe it's not obviously Leicester City, but Ranieri had a very similar issue as well. This Liverpool side are nowhere near their peak. This isn't, look, Man City last season probably should have won at least a double because of how good the squad was. At least you add Haaland in there. It was kind of built to be successful. This Liverpool side aren't there yet. Maybe in 2-3 years when Dominic Szoboszlai's come to fruition, Ryan Gravenberch, Curtis Jones has kicked on, Trent's even better. They have maybe a long-term solution to the left-back situation at Liverpool. Diaz scores more goals and Jota as well. This Liverpool side hasn't quite risen with the tide yet with Jurgen Klopp, and Jurgen Klopp still got them sitting top of the Premier League. So we're going to talk about just a few factors of why I think he's got Liverpool there. Very keen to see what you think in the comments down below, and obviously if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do. The first one for me is squad management. Now, I saw a great statistic on Twitter saying that the amount of goal involvements from substitutions, 30 for Liverpool, and the next one down is 18 at Aston Villa and 18 at Man City. So Jurgen Klopp is literally getting what is that, 20-25% more out of the substitutes he makes in terms of goal contributions than the likes of Pep Guardiola. Now, obviously, Pep wants to start the game stronger, and he's got probably a little bit more quality in the squad to do so. Same with Unai Emery, maybe on some level in terms of depth in the Aston Villa squad. But ultimately, Jurgen Klopp is able to make these substitutions, influence games, and at the same time, when he does these substitutions, it's not like he's dropping a 10 out of 10 player down to a 5. All of these players are operating at 8s or 9s. I mean, after you take away Salah's goals, I mean, the Jotas of the world, the Gakpos of the world, the Nunez's of the world, even Szoboszlai is on 4 or 5 goals this season, I think it is. So there's a lot of players operating on 9, 8, 7 kind of goal ranges, which means that when he makes a substitution, he's bringing on almost like-for-like quality, giving rest to players that start the game and balancing out a relatively thin squad. A squad, when you actually look at it, he's only used 23 people in the league this season, which is quite low compared to the other sides around him. Even some of those sides like the Villas of the world, the Newcastles of the world that have spent a lot of money and Liverpool have managed to get through it a little bit. Jurgen Klopp is the massive factor in that. I think you also have to talk about how he's approaching all these tournaments as well. I mean, the League Cup against Fulham, they're in a good position for that. The Europa League, which is a competition. How many times have you seen a manager come out and complain about the Europa League or come out and complain about the Thursday schedule? And this Liverpool kind of side have definitely treated it like a machine, like any game is just a game of football that we have to win. And I remember that, it terrified me when I saw it when they nearly won the quadruple. And they weren't far off. That if a side ever gets labelled as nearly winning a quadruple, that isn't in January. That they got there in May of nearly winning a quadruple. And we don't really talk about that enough. So he has this kind of ability to spread bet the quality of the squad. 23 men that are all kind of dedicated. They believe in the mission, and they all are playing at a certain level. He is the guy that rises the tide for everyone else. There are a couple of people I have to talk about, and maybe from the young player category, from the old player category as well. The first one is Quansah. I mean, this guy's playing in League One football with Bristol Rovers. I mean, do you know how bad that is? At the Memorial. So he's come from League One football to do what he's doing in the Premier League, to do what he was doing against Arsenal a few weeks ago. Absolutely incredible. And then you look at someone like Endo, a completely different spectrum, really. He's never played in British football before. He's 30 years old. He's quite diminutive. And Jurgen Klopp is able to get something out of him, where in his first few games, he didn't look right, in my opinion. He played against Spurs, I think one of his early games. Played against Palace as well. Looked a little bit out of his depth physically. But within a couple of weeks, Jurgen Klopp is able to address these issues and has used Endo in a way where Endo's mobility, Endo's ability to be quite reflexive in midfield and kind of pop balls around first time. He's actually got a great long shot on him as well. We've kind of found these things out after Jurgen Klopp has, and Jurgen Klopp is able to extract the most quality out of the players that he's got. And let's be real, we can be completely objective and say, if Liverpool were currently 10th in the league, I think there'd be a range of football fans that would say, well, look, they signed him Endo and they loaned back Quansah from Bristol Rovers, and it hasn't worked out because of that. But ultimately, in spite of maybe a lack of spending comparable to Newcastle, comparable to Chelsea and Man City, he's actually able to turn those kind of off-cut players, with all due respect, or players that need a lot of development. He kind of gets it done very, very quick. He accelerates their growth, which is the sign of a world-class manager. It's the sign of the best manager in the world. What can I say? Even look at someone like Harvey Elliott, the way that he's able to influence the game as a substitute, comes on and changes it. That is the sign that everyone is singing from the same hymn sheet. I can't think of a single Liverpool player that I think, doesn't quite click. Even at Arsenal, Havertz for me, instantly. You know, you sign Jurrien Timber, great signing. He looks like an Arsenal player. Trossard, January last season, beautiful player. Havertz doesn't quite click, slows other people down. It becomes a bit messy. I can't think of a single Liverpool player that's currently playing that doesn't basically sing from the Klopp hymn sheet, and that is testament to Jurgen Klopp. He's able to build this kind of network of players that all believe and all kind of had the same approach to football that he does. We have to talk about the big elephant in the room. If you're a Man City fan watching this, if you're a rival football fan that don't want Liverpool to win the league, you know, the one side in the last 6 years to win the Premier League that isn't Man City is literally Liverpool. It's not Chelsea, it's not Man United here or there, with a couple in between like it was in the early 2010s. Literally the only side to win the Premier League in the last 6 years is Liverpool. And they really got a points total to do it as well. A couple of seasons prior when they got 97 points. And his record against Pep in the league is actually balanced. It's pretty much 50-50. And again, I'm not one to talk about the money all the time. I think it's a little bit boring chat, but you know, a third of the money spent roughly, and it's about 4 wins for Klopp, 5 for Pep, and 5 draws, which is basically even. So Liverpool put themselves in a beautiful situation. It's all because of Jurgen Klopp. If you will, it's the Jurgen Klopp factor, which not many clubs have got. Arguably, even Man City don't have. I think Pep's a whole different kind of manager. I really do. I think it's a different approach, which I think is equally justifiable. But for what he does, Jurgen Klopp, for the engine room that he kind of builds out of a squad, the kind of utility of it, the beauty of it, the aggression, it's terrifying. Especially if you're a United fan or a City fan or anyone watching that doesn't want Liverpool to win the league, I'd be absolutely terrified. They're currently top. They're in every competition. And when did we last see that? When they nearly won the league. If Aston Villa with Steven Gerrard hadn't have bottled it. Let's be completely real. They got Bournemouth in the league. That's going to be another opportunity to stretch some sort of gap on City and Arsenal and Aston Villa. They'll beat Fulham 1,000,000,000,000% in the League Cup, so they'll be in a League Cup final, which is already a great start for them. You know, Norwich, Chelsea, and the big one for me, I know they've already played Arsenal away, and people talk about the FA Cup and stuff like that, but Arsenal away in the league, if they win that comfortably, that's the moment for me that I think they're in real discussions to win the Premier League. Against Arsenal, they managed the game so well. It was a trial run. City's trial run for how to get past Arsenal in the league started when we beat them 1-0 in the FA Cup with Nathan Ake on his right foot. What a beautiful little finish. And it was for Liverpool as well. Liverpool found a way of getting at the bottle of Arsenal Football Club and making them making them become Spurs light, really. And I saw that at the Emirates. I really did. They bottled it. And that's because of Liverpool's brilliance. And they got them in the league. I think they'll beat them in the league quite easily. And I think Mohamed Salah will be back by then, unless he does some mad run in the AFCON and plays every single minute. I think he'll basically be back as well, which is a mad sign. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's a very Jurgen Klopp-centric video, but I think just some of the quality he's got out of the squad, the balance, the ability to make double substitutions in big moments. I'm talking about Nunes and Gakpo coming on against Arsenal, I think it was. The ability to settle transfers in, McAllister, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, they look like Liverpool players already. There is no transitional time. And then the kind of utility of, Konate's come in at points when Matip's been injured. Quansah's come in. Quansah and Konate look like an unbelievable partnership. They've been playing for 10 years already. With Joe Gomez playing left back, did a job at Arsenal as well. So he's able to get the utility out of the players that he's already got. He's able to kind of transition players through the transfer system to a level that I've not really seen. I mean, it takes City players about a year to get used to, the highest level. But then you look at McAllister. Since he's come back, been absolutely superb. So I think it's all down to Jurgen Klopp. For me, it's the Jurgen Klopp factor. I've coined that phrase, so don't use it. You're going to have to send me some money on PayPal. The Jurgen Klopp factor is in full effect, in my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I'll see you very, very soon. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. I'll be covering all the Premier League weekend's action on the channel.